Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new edition of Artifact Highlight. The cat there, ignore the cat. She is not the artifact, but she is a very, very nice cat. Yes, Phoebe. Yes, you're in front of the camera. You're going to be moved shortly if you don't move. On a trip just a couple days ago, I stopped by one of the local antique stores. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest. I think they're a bit on the pricier side, but there have been one item inside I've been looking at for months. Now, if you've seen my previous videos, you know that probably one of my favorite things to collect is anything relating to the city of Johnstown, Pennsylvania. The reason for this is Johnstown, Pennsylvania is where I got my beginning in any interest in history. At a young age, when I was like 4 years old, I was fascinated by the story of the Johnstown flood in 1889, and it kind of took off from there. So, like, anything relating to the city of Johnstown is high on my list of things to collect. And there's this box of a whole bunch of stuff relating to Johnstown, including old newspapers from the Johnstown Democrat from the 1930s pertaining to the 36 flood. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. Well, the box originally was about $40, and I really didn't want to spend that much for just newspapers. The price has been going down gradually over the months, and finally I saw it at about $20, and I broke down and officially bought it. So here's the box of goodies, or what some people might say, junk. We're just going to go through. Oh, let's not look at the receipt. I don't know if there's any private information we don't need to see. We're going to throw it out of the way. So there's some cool stuff in here. I have the newspapers off to the side because they're in very brittle condition. I'm going to go through the start here. We start off here from 1953. The hometown Minstrel looks like a play being performed at the Adams Township High School. Inside, throughout the playbill, you can see also. Most of it's made up of different advertisements. In the middle, it's kind of funny. Really, there's only a small percentage of each page that's dedicated to like the songs and the actors, or is it? Then like the rest is just nothing but advertisements. So even in 1953, advertisement was all over the place. Next up, we got this little dust broom thing from the Dale National Bank. The reason, cool thing about this, I actually have one of the bags from the Dale Bank, so I now have two pieces from the Dale National Bank of Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And like I said, some stuff here isn't all that great. There's this Regal Premium Beer glass. Probably, I don't even think I'll put it in my collection. We'll probably just use it in the house. Pretty cool. Dale Public School reunion from 1987. Looks like originally it was being sold separately before it was thrown into the box. There's a whole bunch of old postcards here. Well, semi-old. Oh, that's new. There's an old postcard, Johnstown. I believe a lot of this is the postcards from the 80s to the early 2000s. I love this postcard. I have a piece of the rail, actually, from the incline plane. So I plan to put this, it's a very good informative piece about the incline. I plan to put this right next to it, actually. And you got some more of the incline. Maybe I'll do a video in the future of the incline plane. It's not far. It's only about an hour from my house. Tell me what you want in the comments below if you would be interested in that type of video. Grandview Cemetery, which is where the 777 unknown dead from the Johnstown flood are buried. This shows actually the Civil War Memorial up there. This here is the former Carnegie Library, which is now the host of the Johnstown Flood Museum. There is the Camee County War Memorial, famous for being the primary film location for the movie Slapshot. It's my favorite venue to go to. Another of the inclined plane. And very recently, this, again, more just for my personal like, is a practice ticket from the 2015 Hockeyville game that was played at the War Memorial between the Penguins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I really wanted to go to that game, but when they released it, apparently all the season ticket holders of the Penguins got first dibs on it, and the venue's only about 4,000 seats. Did not go. Here we got a container from Sanitary Dairy, which was one of the factories was stationed in Johnstown, PA. Sherbet flavored. I haven't had sherbet in a while. Here is a commemorative glass cup for the Johnstown flood. This was for the 1989 Centennial Celebrations, commemorations. And there's a good bit of books in here of Johnstown. This one's the oldest one. Greater Johnstown, Pennsylvania. been given out by the Chamber. Here's an old photo of the Richland Mall, which is no longer there. This will be going into my growing book collection. This is a very bit interesting because this book clearly may not be checked out of the library, but it has been. I'm assuming this is a library. It's a school library. Went for the book earlier. It's a school library. The school must have closed, and the books were being given away. Nobody bothered getting rid of it, getting rid of the stickers. And there's some very good photos. Well, if we can get to them. There's photographic history of Greater Johnstown. Yeah, there it says St. Benedict's School Library. So I'm assuming either the library closed or they were downsized. And I unfortunately had the task at my school last year, downsizing our library, and I really am against throwing away books. I just feel guilty about doing it, but we end up having to. So a couple of my books in my collection I salvaged when we were throwing them away. And here's another pictorial history of the Greater Johnstown area. This is only volume 2, which means I gotta seek out volume 1 if there's any more volumes. Program for Hockeyville. And then there is a magazine for Johnstown. Johnstown is the host of the AAA-BA baseball tournament. They've been doing that for about 75, 76 years, I believe. All the years that Johnstown hosted it, Johnstown, I believe, has only won once. They won, actually, I believe, not last year, but the year before. We got this record here from Jerry Records, Johnstown, my hometown. Back of the 45 is the instrumental version. And I do have a record player, so maybe we'll play that later on. And let's see if there's anything hidden. I don't think. Does not appear to be. So that's the box. Now for why the real reason I bought all this. Alright, so like I mentioned, I bought this box for the Tribune Democrat papers pertaining to the Johnstown flood. Now, they are all, except for the first one, pertaining to the flood of 1936. I actually did a video last year on a collection of negatives I purchased off of eBay of the damage done during the 36 flood. The 1936 flood was the worst flood that ever hit the Pittsburgh area. Cost millions of dollars of damage. Flooded pretty much everything on anything that was a river in the Pittsburgh region. And later on was the reason why several dams were constructed by the Army Corps of Engineers around this area. Most notably, the Loyhanna Dam, Lake Conemaugh Dam, the Youghiogheny Dam down in Somerset County. All this was built up because of the damage done to the 36 flood. So actually the first paper makes this probably the third oldest newspaper I own. This newspaper comes from 1929, commemorating the infamous 1889 flood. Maybe one of these days I'm going to go to Johnstown. We'll retrace the flood. And the papers are not in very good condition. So like you can see this one here. I'll find the other half later on. This is split in half. This is very interesting because this is obviously not the release paper. It looks like it's photocopied. I don't know. It's from March 21st, 46. So it's the first dealing with the 36 flood. I don't know if this is a photocopy or like the preprint before they released it. It's a very interesting publish. Here are the actual newspapers. So this one is the Johnstown Tribune. Comes from March 25th. I believe the flood itself in Johnstown killed 25, injured many more. And I did a video a couple years ago on a newspaper collection I have of newspapers from this 1977 flood, which that was the last big flood that hit Johnstown, and my personal belief is the flood that ultimately killed the city. And this comes from, I'm a little wonky holding it because my arm's right up against the tripod. This is from March 20th, 1936, so right, not far long after the flood occurred. I'm trying to be very careful with these. I'm definitely going to think about, I don't know if you can laminate newspapers, old newspapers. I don't know if that damages it. I might consider doing it because these were really folded up when I got them. It actually shows some damage on one of the bridges. Alright. This is the Johnstown Democrat. This is before the Tribune and the Democrat merged, by the way. There were two different newspapers, and now they're the Tribune Democrat. And that's from the 23rd. And I don't know where the other piece of that newspaper went. I'm a little concerned now, a little nervous. There was another piece there. Trust me, there was another piece of newspaper where I have one. Must be buried under there. Oh, never mind. I found the other half. It was I actually put it inside the other half. I went for all these papers before doing the video, so I didn't destroy anything. But as you can see, there's already debris spilled out on my bed, which can merge within the cat hair from Phoebe. Alright, let's give this 45 a spin, shall we? Oh, nope, that's the instrumental side. We want to hear the vocal side.
Now there's a secret song in the heart of Pennsylvania, and it helps to keep this country growing strong. It's the voice of history singing out to the future. It's the song of a new day dawning in my hometown. It's in the hands and the hearts of the good, hard-working people, building their dreams with both feet on the ground, making this a place where a man can stand and see tomorrow coming. The friendly city of Johnstown, my hometown.
Well, that concludes this edition of Artifact Highlight. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you stayed around this long, you must have enjoyed the video. So be sure to subscribe to see more like this. Till next time.